Hey, welcome to the call, everyone. My name is Shay Shiva. I am the admin for Web3 Sonic. This is our official launch call for our Bitcoin Matrix. We're very excited to be launching wrapped Bitcoin on the Sonic blockchain powered by our AI platform. After this call, we will go ahead and begin the onboarding process, and I'll share more information about that later on how we'll roll that out. Yeah, welcome to the call. Web3 Sonic is a project that I've been working on since August, right? We officially deployed on the Sonic blockchain back in December, and we've paid out over 54,000 Sonic to our members, right? This is an instant pay 100% payout smart contract, right? There's no admin fees. Everything is 100% paid out back to the community, back to the members. And we built this in such a way that you keep 100% of your network volume, right? As you continue to build and as you bring in your team members, right? You're keeping 100% on that volume paid out on 4 different levels, right? So you get 25% on each of the 4 levels that you get paid on, and you get 100% on all your odd referrals, right? It's a very, very powerful smart contract and compensation plan. However, there is no passive income with this system, right? It's an active income, right? It's built for leaders. It's built for people who want to be a part of the network marketing industry. They don't mind putting in the work, right? But they want to be paid for it, right? We all want to be paid for the work that we're putting in, and it doesn't get better than 100% payout, right? You can't get paid more than 100%. Otherwise, that's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, right? So we pay out 100%. We pay out instantly. We pay out in Sonic, and Sonic is currently the fastest layer 1 blockchain, right? Which puts us in direct competition with Ethereum and BNB. And even a lot of the layer 2 solutions like Optimism or OPBNB, right? Sonic is, in terms of speed, right, is now currently the fastest layer 1 blockchain that you can write smart contracts for, right? There's other blockchains out there, but theoretically we can handle up to 400,000 transactions per second. So far, the max that the network has been tested with is 2,700 transactions per second, and it handled those transactions with instant confirmations, right? So Sonic is very, very powerful as a blockchain. If you've ever worked smart contracts in the past, you know the reason that they usually fail is usually because of the transaction fees, right? Because you're building a smart contract and yeah, it works fine for 100 people, 1,000 people. Then when you get to 10,000, 100,000, a million people, it screeches to a complete halt, right? Because the transaction fees are more than the cost to get started, right? So when it comes to building a smart contract, the most important piece of that smart contract is the blockchain, right? So we're very, very excited that we were one of the first network marketing or matrix systems to deploy on the Sonic blockchain, right? I deployed right from the get-go, right? From the first day Sonic launched, we deployed on testnet, and within, I think, 2 weeks of the blockchain being launched, we deployed on mainnet, right? Because we already had a very successful working smart contract from the OPBNB blockchain, right? So we just migrated that over to Sonic, and we made some minor enhancements to the compensation plan, right? Mainly, instead of being 90% payout, we switched to straight 100% payout, right? And we've been building since then, and super, super excited to now introduce Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is great, right? Bitcoin is currently the number 4 asset, right? Ranked asset, right? Gold is number 1. I think Nvidia and maybe Microsoft or Apple, right? Is number 2 and 3. And then there's Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's been around for 16 years, right? But the challenge with Bitcoin is that it's slow, right? And the transaction fees are very, very expensive, right? Compared to other blockchain solutions, right? So you can't really use it as a payment system, right? It's a very slow payment system, but it's a great store of value, right? And that's why having a wrapped version of Bitcoin, right, is so powerful. And you can go to the wBTC website. It's wbtc.network, and you can learn about wrap BTC. Wrap BTC was built on the Ethereum blockchain, right? And because there's a direct bridge from Ethereum into Sonic, you can bridge any asset that's on the Ethereum blockchain securely over to Sonic, right? So wrapped BTC deployed a few weeks ago to Sonic, and we are now able to implement that token into our smart contract, right? With a very, very powerful compensation plan. So very, very cool. Let's show you some other things here. Right. So this is when you join the smart contract, right? You're going to need a wallet address, a Web3 wallet. The wallet that we use and recommend is the Robbie wallet. This wallet was built specifically for Sonic. Not it wasn't built specifically for Sonic, but it was the first wallet that Sonic integrated into their Web3 ecosystem, right? So everything that they built has been tested with Robbie, right? And Robbie is an open source wallet similar to MetaMask, except it's more decentralized, right? It's more of an open source solution, whereas, MetaMask is actually a company, right? They're a business, right? This is more of an open source solution, and the security is very, very high, right? There's a lot of things with this wallet, and keep in mind, your money is always on the blockchain, right? A lot of people think the money is in their wallet. Your money is not in the wallet. Your money is sitting in the blockchain. The wallet is just reading the blockchain and checking your wallet address on the blockchain to see how much money you have, right? So make sure you understand that part, right? Your money is not in your wallet. It's actually on the blockchain, right? So that's what these Web3 wallets are doing, is that they're interacting with the blockchain, and you're able to connect your wallet directly to the blockchain and do lots of cool, wonderful things, right? Especially on Sonic, right? With speed, right? You're able to trade multiple different assets. You're able to acquire any asset, right? Any digital asset that's available and stored in your wallet. Now, Robbie doesn't support native Bitcoin, right? If you're using SafePal, right, you can use that if you want native Bitcoin. But both Robbie and SafePal support the wrap version of Bitcoin, right? And we'll give you the token address. Well, you'll start getting paid, right, in Bitcoin. So you'll have the token address, and you can look up the token address and see all the transactions, see, how much value is actually locked up into Bitcoin on Sonic, right? So we love the blockchain because everything is transparent, right? It's impossible to scam using the blockchain, right? And not be found out, right? You can't create a scam, but you immediately will be, people will immediately know whether or not that is a scam or a false transaction, right? It can be verified instantly. So we love the blockchain because it's so transparent. Everything can be directly verified, right? Every transaction can be traced, right? But there's privacy that's built into it, right? No one knows who owns that wallet, right? So you're able to maintain your privacy and your security, right, by just creating a new wallet, funding it, connecting it to the smart contract. And then once you activate that smart contract on the Web3 Sonic platform, you're given an ID number, and that ID number is what tracks all your referrals, right? So we've reduced the complexity, right, of navigating with smart contracts down to a single ID number, right? You get an ID number, and you come to the Web3 Sonic, and you share that ID number with the people that you refer. And as long as they use that ID number when they register, it's going to connect to your wallet address and pay out those commissions instantly straight to your wallet, right? Peer to peer, right? The smart contract is just acting as the transaction point, right? It's specifically programmed with a set of instructions on exactly what to do once a new payment comes in, right? It knows exactly who the person is that referred that person, and it knows exactly who to make those payments to, right? And that's the beauty of smart contracts, right? Is that we can automate a lot of the manual things, right? So a lot of other platforms that are, using Bitcoin, right? They're very, very slow. The transactions take forever to confirm. and the transaction fees are out of control. Plus, those platforms take a huge 10% admin fee. Hang on. Hang on. Okay. Right. So you can use your Robbie wallet, right? That's the wallet that we use and recommend. And the main benefit there is that you can instantly swap your Sonic for wrapped Bitcoin. And then as you earn Bitcoin, you can instantly swap that for Sonic or USDC, right? So a lot of times when the value of Bitcoin, let's say, goes up to $100,000, right? Well, you want to lock in that value, right? You don't want to wait for it to go back down to 70 and then, you're losing $30,000, right? Because Bitcoin drops. So having the Rabi wallet, right, when it comes to Web3, the wallet is your most important asset, right? Your most important tool that you're going to need for DeFi, Web3, and interacting with all the different smart contract platforms that we're going to introduce you to with this platform. So once you have the wallet set up, you're going to go ahead and fund it. This is our DApp website, right? So we have some videos on here showing some stats of the Sonic blockchain. And these videos here, I highly recommend you watch them. I probably have to update these because these are probably old now. We just did them a couple of weeks ago, but they're probably outdated now due to all the recent changes. So we'll update these new videos, right, with more instructions on. This is a very good interview with Andre, right? So you definitely want to listen to that, right? But we're going to probably add some more step-by-step tutorials here on how to download the wallet, how to fund it with Sonic, how to swap your Sonic for wrap BTC or swap wrap BTC for Sonic if you need to swap out, right? We also have a debit card that supports multiple different cryptocurrencies. It doesn't support. We have one that does support Sonic, but it's not available to us here in the United States. But there's multiple ways for you to cash out, right? You can get our debit card, and you can swap your Sonic for BNB, right? Or Ethereum, and then you can swap that, or you can cash out that on your debit card, right? And the benefit there is that you're not using a traditional bank, right? You're keeping your money in your wallet, right? It's just you have a debit card that's connected to your wallet, right? And if you need to make a transaction, it's going to make that transaction using whatever cryptocurrency you have in your wallet, right? So very, very powerful stuff. Lots of cool things built into this platform. I'll run through the Sonic levels, right? There's 10 levels. We highly recommend everybody start off with at least the first 4 or 5 levels, right? Less than $200-300, right? Currently, right, to activate those first 5 levels, right? So at least activate the first 2, 3, right? In order to join the Bitcoin smart contract, you must have level 1 at least activated, right? So you have to have at least 10 Sonic, right, in your wallet, right, which is less than $5 right now currently. And then I think based on the price of Bitcoin, we're right around $9.46 for level 1, right? So if you're planning to upgrade in the BTC contract, make sure you have some Sonic, right? Because Sonic's going to be used for the transaction fees. It's very important. And don't underestimate this platform, right? It's very, very powerful with those instant 100%. We do have a documentation page here, right? So you can go through. It'll give you detailed instructions on how to set up the wallet. There's a video here of the Robbie wallet, right? Shows for beginners, show you how to set it up. If you're bringing your wallet from SafePal, or if you're bringing your wallet from MetaMask, right? You just need to know your seed phrase, which is the 12 words, and then you can import it into Robbie, right? You can have multiple wallets, right? You can have MetaMask, you can have Robbie, you can have SafePal, all using the same keys on multiple different devices, right? So it allows you to be secure and at the same time, right, not just be tied to one device, right? If you just have it on your phone and you lose your phone and you don't have your 12 words backed up, well, you lost all your cryptocurrency, right? So we'll keep updating this, right? And providing you guys with detailed step-by-step instructions on how to use the platform. But when you come in here, so this ID that we have here, right, is just a dummy ID. No one can register with Bitcoin, right? There's no ID in the system called Bitcoin, right? It's just there as a placeholder, but you would put in whatever your ID number is, and then you would click save, right? And that's literally all you need to do when you share the platform with other people, right? They just come in here, click change ID, and they put in your ID number, whatever it is, right? They click save, they click deploy agent, right? And then now the system knows that ID 288, right, has made this referral, right? And then they just put in a username here, right? Click register. It's going to connect to the smart contract and activate your position. Once you're activated, you'll be able to log into the dashboard, and then you can go ahead and activate these levels, right? So at the very minimum, make sure you activate this one first, right? Nothing works without this one, right? So you have to have this one. This is what actually adds you to the matrix, right? Remember, this is a complete ecosystem, right? So we don't have just one smart contract. We have multiple smart contracts doing different things, right, to automate the entire system. So this is the first one. You're going to need that one. And then after the call, once we open up, you'll see 5 levels here. To start, only the first level will be active, right? As we start to validate and onboard the new members and we make sure everything's okay, then we'll go ahead and open up level 2, level 3 over the next few days, right? But again, we're dealing with real money, we're dealing with real Bitcoin, right? So we can't make any mistakes. We need to go very, very slowly. We've been testing the contract for the last week, and fixed a bunch of things, added a few very, very, important enhancements to the system. So we're very happy with where it is right now. But we're still going to take our time with smart contracts, right? Because there's no room for mistakes when it comes to smart contracts, right? It's permanent, right? It's immutable. We can't make any changes or adjustments to it, right? So if something's wrong, right, we have to stop it, fix it, and replace it, and then start over again, right? So we really don't want to do that. So bear with us as we take our time and deploy the system and get it live. Now, there's a lot of other cool things you're going to get access to. When you come in, you get access to our mindset training.
The truth about wealth is not a secret.
Right? Our wealth and financial training is there. It's updated daily, right? And there's really, really good content in there. And there's going to be tons of cool things in here for you guys to interact with, right? And multiply the Sonic that you're making and multiply the Bitcoin that you're making even more, right? But that's advanced stuff. I don't like to cover that on our introductory calls for new people, right? I don't want to confuse them more. But let's see here. This is showing about 35 minutes before we go live. Now, the contract, like I said, is already live. We have several leaders who started with us. We want to make sure that we get them in and get them onboarded before their team members come in. So we're going to start to go down the list for those that I know, right? The beautiful thing about this smart contract and the way we designed it is that you never lose your downline or your team. So even if you're not paying attention, right, and you miss the first cycle, as long as you come in and upgrade, right, those people will come back in under you, right? Now, if you don't and they upgrade before you do, there's nothing that we can do about it, right? That's just how the smart contract is written. We don't have any control over how and when people come in, right? We can do our best to kind of keep everybody updated and let everyone know what's going on. But unfortunately, a lot of people are distracted with other things, right? And not everyone is paying attention, right? But for those of you who are paying attention, you guys are in for a very, very wild ride with this system. So let me run through the matrix and how it's going to work. Right. So when you come into the smart contract, you have five different levels in the BTC matrix, right? There are 10,000 Satoshi, which right now is about 983. right? The silver is 100,000 Satoshi, right? That's about $98. The gold is 500,000 Satoshi, which is around 491. And if you don't know, a Satoshi is the one Satoshi is the single unit in one Bitcoin, right? So one Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshi, right? So just to put that into perspective, right? So the platinum level, which is level 4, right, pays out 6,000 Satoshi, right, for a full completed matrix. And the diamond level pays out a whopping 60 million Satoshi, right? And you can start with this system for 10,000 Satoshi and work your way up, right? All the way up here and never have to come out of pocket again, right? It's designed, obviously, the first level we made very affordable, right? So people can use that. But for people who are starting off here, you're in profit with just one cycle, right? And that's a one time out of pocket. And you get back that money with just one referral, right? One referral hitting your first level, right, pays you, you get that money back, right? So at that point, right, there's nothing to lose, right? You can't lose anything with this system. How quickly you earn is up to you. So there's three levels or three open positions, right? We call this the loading phase, right? As you build your team, right? Now these three positions here can be filled by you, or it could be filled by your upline, right? When you come in, you can fill these positions, right? As you refer people, or you could get spillover, right? Spillover is a gift, right? And it's not guaranteed, right? It depends on who you're working with, right? Are they active, right? Are they bringing in people, right? Obviously, you only have three people on your first level, so anything over three people is spillover, right? And it's filtering down to the members below, right? The way we designed this, right? There's 12 positions in each matrix or 12 payout slots in each matrix, right? Let's assume that this is you, right? You join, you activate your matrix at that level, right? Let's say level 1, right? These first three positions are going to be the first three to fill, and they'll fill from left to right, right? As new people come in, you refer one person, they're going to go here. Refer two people, they're going to go here. For three people, they're going to go here, right? If your upline is referring people, right, they will spill over into your next open slot, right? From left to right, top down. Um, uh, Someone asked me if this is a company-wide force matrix. I would say it is because I feel like everyone here is part of the company and are starting right at the beginning, right? So you do have first mover advantage, right? And that's the benefit of it being a company-wide forced matrix, right? Is how early you get in, right? Obviously, if you get in when we're 10,000 members, right, you're not going to be benefiting much from anything we're doing, right? We're everyone's building their own matrix, right? So look at it that way, but it's a foolproof way for you to build an income stream, right? That pays you instantly in Bitcoin, which is an asset that will continue to appreciate in value, right? And if you listen to people like Michael Saylor, right, who constantly telling us that we're going to $1 million, right? And people laugh at him. They laughed at him when he told us we were going to $50,000, when we're going to $100,000, right? The guy is not wrong, right? And he's not the only one, obviously, right? His strategy is working, right? So we're gonna copy that same strategy and acquire as much Bitcoin as we can, right? And educate people on why they should acquire Bitcoin, right? And especially using this platform, right? Because what's your other option? You can invest, right? But then you're trading whatever money you have in your bank account and hoping that hopefully you have enough, right? In order to watch Bitcoin appreciate in value, right? And then for you to double your money, Bitcoin would have to go to $200,000, right? With Sonic, right, we have a much better opportunity in terms of the token, right? But Bitcoin is a great store of value, and we want to make sure that we acquire as much. So these six positions or these three positions here on your second level, the outside positions always pay upline, right? This top position here pays the person directly above, right? So as these fill, right, you're going to know exactly where these payments are going, right? These outside positions, if you're in the new position, once you fill up your first three, now these two outside positions start to pay you, right? So you collect one payment on the first level, and then you collect six payments on the second level. However, the last payment pays for your recycle. Right. So there's a detailed breakdown here of how everything works. Make sure you guys review it. If you have any questions, let me know. But the 12th payment, right? The last payment that comes into the matrix basically pays for your recycle, right? And it goes to whoever it needs to go to based on the same structure, right? So when you start a new board, right, you have an empty matrix, right? As your members cycle and come back in, they're going to be taking up these open positions from left to right, right? If this is open, that's the next position they take up when they cycle. And you're not supposed to get the payment here. Your upline is supposed to get the payment, right? Same thing here, right? You're supposed to get the payment here, right? So if it comes in here, then this 12th payment that's coming in, right, will pay you, right? So 6 payments per cycle with a one-time out of pocket, right? So potentially on level 1, right? I'm sorry, for the bronze matrix, right? Which is the first matrix, the 10,000 Satoshi, right? Your profit here is 6,000 Satoshi over and over again. Right. Every time you fill up that 3x2, right, you're going to be collecting 60,000 Satoshi instantly. Currently, that's worth about $58.95, right? On the silver matrix, now it starts to get really exciting, right? Now you got 600,000 Satoshi, right? You're making about 589, right? You have enough to upgrade to the next level, right? And you're still in profit, right? And at that point, everything else is just all profit, right? How quickly we grow, how quickly you bring people in, how quickly you share this platform with other people, is how quickly you're going to earn, right? Some people are going to earn a lot, right? Because they're actively building, and some people are going to earn a little bit, right? Because they're passively waiting for spillover, right? We can't control that. However, for the people who are working, I guarantee you won't make more money than you will make with us, especially now moving forward. So we're super excited. Contract is live. So as soon as I hang up, as soon as we're done, we wrap up with this call, I will connect with my developers, and then we will deploy the interface to production, and then we will start to onboard the leaders who have been in contact with me and reached out to me. We'll try to get them in first because they are the ones that have the big teams, right? So we'll try to get the people in with their large teams in first. Hopefully everybody is on this call and knows what's going on, or they're passing that information on to their upline. We will go ahead and post a recording of this call sometime later on tonight once I get a break. I expect we're going to be super busy for the next couple of hours as we start to onboard everyone. And again, we're just rolling this out the way we're rolling it out because we're dealing with a lot of money, right? No one wants to lose $500, right? Or $100, right? So we're going to roll this out very slowly, starting with level 1 test, make sure everyone is getting paid who is supposed to get paid, right? And we've tested this significantly in testnet. We feel comfortable. The contracts are very secure. We are going to go ahead and get it audited. And once we have it audited and we have it applied for the Sonic FEM structure, we'll go ahead and completely decentralize the smart contract, right? We're super excited. I'm super excited about this one. I really, this one's mine, right? I built this one from scratch. There's no other smart contract that exists like this one, right? That's out there, right? And I'm very proud of that. We didn't copy anyone. We wrote this one from scratch, right? Now I anticipate multiple people are going to try to copy us now, but they'll never be able to match what we can do here with this and all the value that we're bringing, right? Because this is a complete ecosystem, right? It's not just about a smart contract. One of the things you'll notice about me is the amount of value we add to our community, right? Not just one way, right? For you to earn, right? There's multiple different strategies that we share with you that you can use to acquire more digital assets and multiply them. So this is the contract address for wrapped BTC. I will share this in the chat. Make sure you guys have this, right? There's currently about $3 million in Bitcoin sitting on Sonic, right? So lots of liquidity, over 1,000 people holding Bitcoin on Sonic already, right? And over 460,000 transactions already since the contract was live. So really, really cool stuff. I will go ahead and end things there for the presentation. Hopefully I give you guys enough information to get started, and then we'll open up for questions. So let me just pause the recording.